This video is proudly sponsored by Raycon. These NHL teams may have failed at making the playoffs this year, but you don't have to fail at finding premium sound at roughly half the price of the major brands. The everyday earbuds not only look, sound, and feel better than ever, but they've been engineered to seamlessly fit into your ears, whether they are big or small. What this means is a universal fit that will not budge, be it from daydreaming about the future or trying to procrastinate instead of doing work around the house. With 8 hours of playtime and a 32-hour battery life, you don't need to worry about charging them frequently. Speaking of charging, I've just realized that they can be charged with any wireless charging pad on the market. It's honestly a useful feature. And with over 49,000 5-star reviews on Google, you can't lose with trying them out. To start, get 15% off your order by going to buyraycon.com/utree. The offseason may have begun for these hockey teams long ago, but they can be comforted by the pristine sounds of Raycon. Now let's finally go over all those teams, shall we? You saw signs of something happening early in the year. Anaheim had a sexy young core burgeoning with the beginnings of a solid foundation. Their special teams play had greatly improved. And did anyone mention Trevor Zegras yet? Oh, it was beautiful. Now only if we could stop the season in January, everything would be fine. After that, I wouldn't look through the rubble if I were you. It'll only lead to misery. A promising start fell right to a thud. I'd call it the anti-Zegras. It was Bob Murray in team form. Start out strong and then fall privy to organizational inbreeding and treating your subordinates like shit. After the Blackhawks scandal was revealed, Murray was called out for it and eventually resigned to overcome a long-standing alcohol addiction. I hope he's doing well in recovery. Pat Verbeek will hopefully be the fresh perspective they need. And he did good work restocking the prospect pile at the deadline, but now comes the final end of a great era. Ryan Getzlaf is hanging up the skates. A last goodbye to the 07 Cup team with a celebration worthy of his talents. Besides bittersweet endings, Anaheim still has to assess many things. Considering most of the old core is gone, I wonder if John Gibson's played his last game in a Ducks uniform. Despite his sterling reputation, he hasn't been all that good as of late. I'd say their situation is damning with a touch of praise. The Coyotes were predictably bad this season, but if you thought the greatest tank the NHL has seen in years was embarrassing enough, just witness the calamity that occurred for them off the ice. Start out with Glendale finally having enough of their shit and kicking them out at the end of the year. And then they nearly got kicked out of there in December due to delinquency on paying rent. It was eventually settled before chaos hit, but they still have to find a new arena to play in. Despite all signs pointing to it not working, Bettman's baby will never leave Phoenix. So we get all the hilarity of the LA Chargers playing in a soccer stadium in hockey form. Starting next season, the Coyotes will be playing in a 5,000-seat arena being built by Arizona State. They won't be able to have a center ice logo, sponsors on the boards, and will be privy to stipulations throughout their stay. Best of all, they will be tenants there for at least 3 seasons? They better hope to God the Tempe proposal is approved. The first hurdle is fortunately out of the way, but these roads are long and treacherous. I know Coyotes fans hate me harping on their off-ice issues, but everything else is just giving old vets one last goodbye run at the NHL level. A token gesture at the very least. Don't worry, Jacob Chitrin, you'll probably be traded for a haul in the offseason. The thing about being at rock bottom is that there's nowhere to go but up. Let's just say things got better for Buffalo. Don't be fooled, they're still garbage in the grand scheme of things, but compared to where they were last year, they may as well have won the damn cup. It's baffling all its own because they finally freed Jack Eichel. Marginalizing the great tank of 2015 for nothing shouldn't lead to comfort, but here we are. It was a sudden jump to relevance for so many players. Tage Thompson suddenly developed magic hands and became the great sniper of the team. Jeff Skinner and Kyle Okposo went from untradeable anchors to meaningful contributors again. Alex Tuch might be future captain material for the club. Rasmus Dahlin finally took his much-awaited step into becoming an elite defenseman. Not to mention Owen Power made his debut and looked like he wasn't anything close to resembling a rookie. This is unironically the best season the Sabres have had in over a decade. They actually get to experience this phenomenon called hope. It doesn't matter if the team isn't good, Buffalo has emotions that aren't bitterness and pain. They may be able to sell out more games than Rick Jennerett's final farewell. If it's a fluke or not, I don't know, but considering they're not a locale under half, they'll take it as a win. This year was divine retribution applied directly to the fucking forehead. A hard cratering of a faux rebuild full of foolish decisions and self-filleting goodness. When that awful Seth Jones trade is the best thing of the season? As a player who isn't worth $9.5 million per year? You've had a bad fucking season. Everyone is fired, the franchise is directionless, and they're going to be dragged kicking and screaming into a real rebuild. Not this half-ass shit that Stan Bowman was doing. They did get a nice haul for Brandon Hagel, but that's a minor consolation. The Blackhawks are fucked 6 ways from Sunday. And that's also not getting into, that situation. Aw, you don't want to talk about it, Rocky? Well, you can talk to a carbon rod being shoved up your ass. The Columbus conundrum is one of perpetual restarts and hoping somebody wants to stay in the city. Considering this situation, the Jackets did as well as anyone could expect of them. I'll make a correction, as well as a god-awful team defense can let them be. I'll give a pass to the goaltending, especially considering Elvis' situation. Just getting flashbacks to this past summer when the Jackets' cannon fired. It's tough to tend the net when that's happening. Regardless of tragedy, the perpetual building continues on. They have nice young pieces in Cole Sillinger and Adam Boakfist developing. Justin Danforth is a hell of a story, but will it be enough for long-term success? The new situation is an old one. Will Patrick Laine want to stay in the city? He had a hell of a year, and as an RFA, Columbus has control, but can they lock him up long-term? Greater players than him have scorned them in the past. That will be the question moving forward. For their sake, I hope he does. Not for his skill, but just for the optics. Someone of great talent will want to play here. That'd be huge. Detroit should change their colors to orange and black. Little Caesars Arena best resembles a construction site. They are absolutely a work in progress. The sheer inconsistency of nearly everything involving them this year proved it. What better example than witnessing what happened between the pipes? One day Greiss and Nedeljkovic are pitching shutouts, the next they're giving up 4 goals on 9 shots. The team in front of them is the same, but the pieces of a future core are forming. Sider and Raymond are legit talents. With Larkin and Bertuzzi around them, you can dream of what's to come. But more development is needed. And this year has proven that Jeff Blashill won't get them there. Do you know that guy's coached the Red Wings for 7 seasons? It feels both shorter than that and much longer at the same time. Don't know how that's possible, but the bad man can't hurt you anymore, Detroit. Choose your next coach carefully. It could be the difference between progress and stagnation. We knew there was going to be a drop-off from last year's cup run, but holy fuck is this a downfall. Everything fell to shit. Everything. That's not an exaggeration. It's what tends to happen when a team loses a ton of leadership and skill in one fell swoop. For example, Carey Price had rehab, injuries, more injuries, and wouldn't start a game until late in the year. Even then, watching them crater felt like retribution for Bergevin. His gambler's mentality finally came back to bite him. He busted at the crap table by going all in for the 6th time, and it cost him his job in the end. Dominique Ducharme, he of random emergence, was relieved of duty to become an answer at trivia night in the future. Rock bottom finally came for the Habs, but it comes with silver lining. The organization got the executive overhaul it's desperately needed for a long time. Montreal finally showed some signs of life with Martin St. Louis, and they bought the full-price version after a trial run. Most importantly, the Habs won the draft lottery. Shane Wright is all but theirs. The seeds of tomorrow are planted from the ashes of today. Last year's run is nothing but a memory, but at least it's that. It's up there now with Guy Lafleur and all the other Habs legends of yesterday. When the Devils get goaltending, they receive little else. When they finally start to have other things click into place, wouldn't you guess it, the goaltending goes to absolute shit. There's only one thing you need to look at in New Jersey. Goaltending, goaltending, goaltending. It's the main reason why they were so awful this year. Jonathan Bernier was a good fix for the handful of games he played before injury. Mackenzie Blackwood seemingly tired of carrying the team in 2019 and 20 and burned up faster than a Roman candle. Go on both ends, the exhaustion comes for you quick. Everything else they tried became little more than net decoration. Especially considering New Jersey's aversion of defense and Dougie's long-term injury, it got bad and quick. Even with the offense coming to life with Jack Hughes and company, the rebuild is still stalling out. There is much more work to do. How long does Lindy Ruff survive? I have my doubts he's the guy who's going to take them to the next level. If it's comforting Jersey, I've been wrong before. Hockey is a fascinating sport. You have teams that come out of nowhere to be well-rounded machines, and then they fall apart just as fast. The Islanders went from a pillar of stability to a hot mess faster than you can say Nassau Coliseum. 2021 started out with a long road trip due to stadium construction. Then came a massive COVID outbreak that they had to play through, and then came the cold reality that this team couldn't score on a blow-up doll. Long Island withered into nothing. Everything that came to be cherished and revered vanished in an instant. Hell, 3 of their stars from the 80s tragically died over its course. This season was a fucking nightmare. One that tends to be stricken from the record with a convenient clerical error. And it only gets worse. A civil war was brewing between Barry Trotz and Matt Barzal. The Isles understandably don't want another John Tavares situation. They chose Barzal. The architect of their success was told to fuck off. His longtime protege Lane Lambert is now coach, but do you trust them now? With a GM that did nothing at the deadline? I know what you're thinking, it's because of the vid I did on them last year. If you wish to complain about it, please send all inquiries to I Don't Fucking Care, 1984 Kiss My Ass Boulevard, no refunds allowed. Well, Ottawa isn't any good, but they're at least making progress. It's all you can really ask for out of a rebuild. Witnessing Josh Norris and Tim Stützle emerge into potential core pieces is a good prize all its own. Brady Tkachuk is Tkachuk, and there are reasons to be optimistic. Oddly enough, their best goalie was Anton Forsberg? Strange, but it helps to ease the sting of the Drake Batherson injury. Shame he was doing well before that. Matthew Joseph looked good in a short sample size at least. They're nowhere close to the promised land, but at least they're headed in the right direction. However, the real impact that's happened occurred off the ice. Melnick is dead. He died too young from illness. And while his daughters have all my sympathy, this is grimly one of the better things to happen to Ottawa in a while. Eugene was holding this team back for so goddamn long with his cheapness, archaic philosophies, and arena deal sabotage. Since he's gone, the ass-backwards hire of Pierre Maguire is now allowed to be awkward on television broadcasts again. The long-term future is unknown, but a new chapter is about to begin. Quebec City, I get an offer ready if they choose to sell. This might be your only chance to get an NHL club again. People saw this team as a playoff contender before the season. I get why. When you have no expectations about the Flyers, they somehow do something. But this year was one where we should have bet the under. Way under. Oh lord, this team is a catastrophic fucking mess. A disorganized, visionless hodgepodge of quick fixes, failed prospects, anchor contracts, and instant regrets. It says something when that awful trade for Rasmus Ristolainen in the offseason is the least of their concerns. That would be extending him. Not for what he is, but for Philly's stubbornness in trying to prove themselves right. Considering how pathetic their special teams were this year, their incredibly anemic offense, with how they were forced to trade Claude Giroux for a song, don't make me laugh. Alain Vigneault was merely a symptom of the disease infesting this organization. They could celebrate nothing. Even Giroux wasn't close to a cut this year. The Flyers need to take a long, hard look at within, but they won't. They'll chase after the next great thing and pretend everything is fine. What you're now hearing is every Metro Division fan celebrating their perpetual demise. Great teams never go out with a bang but a whimper. An exhausted San Jose has reached this final inevitable destination. Old glimpses of a former glory tantalize the jaded faithful, but it's scattered. Erik Karlsson reviving to pass form only to be taken down by a long-term injury. Young weapons starting to take shape but fade away just as fast. Marc-Edouard Vlasic going from a hollow shell of his former self to one being healthy scratched. With the lack of goal-scoring horsepower, it's quite obvious to anyone watching that the Sharks need to rebuild. It's over. It's been over for years. Doug Wilson knows it. He'll sign Tomas Hertl to one last 8-year contract for throwback's sake, and then step down from the team that could never finish the job. Wherever he goes next, he will lead that team to a cup because that's how things work in Sharks land. Potential buyouts, rumors of trading Burns and Karlsson, the writing is on the wall. A long descent to darkness is underway. Everyone tells failing teams to keep at it. Someday you'll break through and win the cup. It's only a matter of time. I have a counter-argument to that. The San Jose Sharks. Vegas gave us all unrealistic expectations. I expected Seattle to compete for a playoff spot this year, but all they competed for was a spot in the draft lottery. The cold slap back to expansionist reality happened roughly in the first few games. It's hard to win hockey games when you have severe issues in net and defensive structure, which is quite odd when they invested so much in team goaltending and defensive structure. It only gets worse since Chris Drieger suffered a long-term injury in the World Championships. Philip Grubauer, how do you say it, might be having second thoughts about leaving Colorado for the big pile of cash. His year was one to forget. Same for Seattle. All they'll want to remember are the crowds, Jared McCann's big extension, and Matty Beniers making his debut. Dave Hack stole teams, everyone. Philly can laugh as they cry themselves to sleep. Remember, it's merely a start. Payment for the sins of Benning finally came due. Years upon years of off-season fuck-ups trapped the Canucks into a corner of anchor contracts and lopsided trades to get out of those anchor contracts. Terrible start for Vancouver was their undoing. By the time they finally fired Benning and Travis Green, it was too late to salvage anything, despite their run of form in the winter. This is especially true in regards to their penalty kill, or lack thereof. Despite the setback, there's still some hope here. Bruce Boudreau's legendary barbecue pit is coming back for another go-around after testing out the food truck for a bit. Trader Jim and his protege Patrick Allvin will hopefully bring a common-sense offseason with them. I have a hunch they'll be busy. JT Miller has 1 year left on his deal and Brock Besser is an RFA. Those two and Connor Garland were rumored in trades for a long time. And depending how they attack this, we can see an endless combination of outcomes. I have a hunch Vancouver at least wants winning. Or something resembling it. In a normal situation, a team dealing with what Vegas did would be treated with sympathy and restraint. However, the Golden Knights are not a normal situation. When you burn all your goodwill by means of arrogance and betrayal, no one feels bad. Everyone knows the issue with Vegas this season was in the injury department. Over 500 man games lost throughout the season, mostly to some of their key contributors, but they would have been in trouble regardless. Trading for Jack Eichel not only sent off all but the rest of their future reserves, but they had to circumvent the cap to even get him in the lineup. Thankfully, the injury's out there, but Vegas didn't have the depth to compensate for it. What did was trying to pull a fast one on Evgeny Dodonov at the deadline. Even when most of their key players came back, things just didn't click in time. A historic failing in their book. Knowing how they must win, Vegas will predictably chase after the next great thing. Peter DeBoer was safe for all of 5 minutes before being chucked off a building. Robin Lehner is probably next in line. You know what'd be hilarious? They said fuck it and hired Coach Q. They have enough bad will in the hockey world. Why not go all out? The Winnipeg Jets are adrift without a compass or a clear path out of it. This past season showed us all of their flaws. Their viability is based on Connor Hellebuck bailing out the team at every turn. He couldn't do it this season. With what they were throwing out in terms of team defense and a penalty kill, I bet at least 3 of their D-men will be getting $3 million per year for 3 years in free agency. Paul Maurice graciously resigned during the middle of the season, and I'm inclined to agree on his reasoning. They need a new voice. Some may say the Jets have cup aspirations, but with how the team is currently constructed, it's a foolish pipe dream. Winnipeg can't keep running the table with Shovel Dayoff at the helm. Nothing against him, but they're relying on sheer luck to get anywhere. Winnipeg isn't exactly a place players want to go. It's Canada's Columbus. There are endless grumblings of Mark Scheifele wanting to flee for greener pastures the first chance he gets. They haven't even tried to negotiate with Pierre-Luc Dubois yet, but that could be due to all the chaos. I'd offer hollow words, but even that can't save them. The Jets are settling for mediocrity by extending Chevy. It's the last thing they should be doing, but I guess that's the Winnipeg way, isn't it? The more they try to leave Atlanta behind, the more that franchise's stench stays on them.
I don't want to sound this like a eulogy, but it's more of a celebration, really. Time passes for everyone. Eyesight fails, as does reaction timing. With me, it works like the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. It's the first time I've ever quoted the Bible. Thanks for traveling around with me on this road for the last half century. All of you, thank you very kindly. It's been a hell of a ride.